All right, and it is 2 minutes after the hour, so we will go ahead and get started. Welcome, 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 everyone, to Built for Busy Season, creating efficiency at full capacity. We're really lucky to have Sarah here. I met Sarah at a Pool Nation Women's Summit. And actually, I think I met you on the road before that at a trade show, long before
Long
that. But I
Beach,
ran
like
into you
five
there.
years ago.
Yeah, so it's really great to have her on. She will tell you a little bit more about her experience, but an expert when it comes to operations. So we're lucky to have her here. Before we get started, my obligatory About Skimmer slide. We are America's #1 pool service software platform. We have well over 7,500 pool service companies at this point and pushing 40,000 users on our platform. And in the last 12 months, we have serviced over 1 million pools. So we are here to help you grow and help you build a great business. And the way that we do that is through amazing software, fantastic support, webinars like these, tools, resources, a community of pros where you can network with your fellow pool professionals. But we are here to help you and help you grow. So this is just one of those ways that we do that. Another housekeeping item coming up October 16th and 17th, we are hosting our first national Skimmer Pro Summit. For those of you who've been to the event before, this is an amazing event. It's like part motivational speakers, part education, part deep dive into Skimmer, and tons of networking opportunities with lots and lots and lots of fun. So if you are interested, it is free for Skimmer customers. You can head on over to getskimmer.com/pro-summit there on your screen. And as a surprise, tomorrow we're launching a contest where you can win an all expense paid trip to the Pro Summit. This is happening in the historical area of San Antonio. It's really cool. It's where the Alamo is. If you've never been to the Riverwalk, it's such a cool and neat area with tons of history, tons of shopping, great food. So, if you would like to your chance to win a trip to the Pro Summit, the contest will open tomorrow on the pool deck. You do not need to be a Skimmer customer to join the pool deck. All we ask is that you are in the pool business. So head on over to the pooldeck.skimmer.com and stay tuned for an all expenses paid trip. And that'll include everything, your pass, your airfare, um, all of the things that you would want to do and more, including a $200 prepaid Visa gift card. All right, so let's get into it. Like I said, I'm Nikki Acosta, Director of Industry Relations. And Sarah, tell us about your journey briefly into the pool biz.
Yeah, so I started 10 years ago. I was a general manager of a swim school. And then from there, I went to work for a pool company in Phoenix, Arizona, where I was living. And I worked there for 7 years. We grew the company from about 300 pools and 9 employees to 23 employees and over 700 pools in that time frame. I served as receptionist slash phone answer to office manager to director of operations, general manager, kind of fit all those shoes. I was a business owner for a little bit there as well. And then in April of this year, so 8 weeks ago, I moved to Washington State and am now the director of operations for AE Pool Services up here.
And Sarah, you've used a lot of software out there on the market, correct?
Yeah, so I've used 4 different ones pretty extensively. We use Pool Track Pro, Pro Valet, Pool Brain, and then now the company I'm with uses Skimmer.
And
And they all have their differences, right? And I always tell people find the one that fits your needs the best. None of them are going to be perfect, and so if you keep looking for perfection, you're just going to consistently be disappointed. So find the one that fits your needs the best. Skimmer has the easiest usability. My absolute favorite thing about Skimmer is not the software itself, but that there's a customer service line that you can call. If you haven't called them, they have the greatest hold music ever. So call for funsies. But if not, they're super helpful. So they answer. I think the longest I've ever sat on hold is about 3 minutes, and she was looking for an answer for me. And beyond that, it's been super helpful in this transition. So I'm not having to learn everything by myself.
thanks for that nod, Sarah. Little
Yeah,
shameless plug for Skimmer there.
you're welcome.
So we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to get into efficiency. We're going to get into how to prevent callbacks or go backs. Sarah's going to share what she's learned about route optimization, cross training teams, and developing team members, time management, communication, setting expectations, which is always a great thing to do. And then we'll round it out by preventing burnout and making your software work for you. And if you stick around to the end, we have a sneak peek into a couple features that are about to launch inside of Skimmer that I think you'll like. So stay tuned for that. Again, if you would like to ask a question, use the Q&A box if you don't mind. That is a feature in Zoom you can find by hovering at the bottom of your screen. And if you came in late or you need to leave early, that's okay. We're going to send this recording to everybody who registered. So if you need to bounce early, that's quite all right. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Sarah.
Perfect. So we're going to start with the basics of why efficiency matters. So repetition may be boring, but ultimately it's efficient. Doing the same thing over and over again is never something that we want to do for fun. But if we look at pool tech and netting a pool and brushing a pool, they're never efficient at the beginning. But the longer that you do it, the more efficient you become. Office work and business management works the same way. It's sitting down and doing the same processes over and over and over again until you can practically do them in your sleep. And then you become efficient at being able to do them. Efficiency drives profitability because adding pools to your business is not always the easiest way to make money. It's making those micro changes in your day to day that have the longest term impact and drive the money and increase your revenue at the houses that you're already servicing. So the more efficient you are, the more money you're going to make because the less time, whether it's a tech spending time at a pool or you having to constantly be pulled away to do something, the processes that you put in place in the beginning are what are going to drive that profitability in the long run. They're super important for team performance. We as employees have all worked somewhere that is not efficient, whether it's your first job as a high schooler, whether it is the job you're currently in or the company that you're currently running. We all know where things can be more efficient. So when you're working on your efficiency, take a step back and put yourself in your employee shoes so that they can see how this is going to go, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to have to implement these plans out in the field. And when you do that, you want to make sure that their job, I don't want to say easier, but that it is more efficient and it saves them time, which once again ultimately makes you more money. If you don't currently have employees, the best advice I can give you is start your business and start planning right now like you do have employees. Because when you add one, because you want to grow, you are then going to have to learn how to develop a plan for an employee while also training them, while also making a route for them, because it's all stuff that you just used to do, right? And if somebody asks you a question and your answer is, I don't know, it's just in my head, that's not the efficient way to run the business. So definitely setting up your business as if you already have an employee will save you so much time and effort in the long run. It also improves customer satisfaction. We all know that we are happy when our customers are happy. The most efficient way for keeping customers happy is making sure that the day-to-day runs smoother. When a customer is happy with what you're doing and they trust the process, they're going to be a lot more forgiving when you do make a mistake, because everybody does make mistakes. So holding on to those customers that have been customers for a long time, those long-term customers, those good payers, and making sure that they stay feeling like you have a grasp on things, will keep them a lot longer. So existing customers are more likely to stay than a newer customer. So going out there and trying to find those new customers all the time is not necessarily the most efficient way to run your business, nor is it going to be the most profitable, because they're the ones you're going to have the hardest time with. And creating efficiency in the beginning and setting it up appropriately helps you to reach your capacity without adding chaos. And unfortunately, in this process, once you feel like you have nailed it and you are efficient and you are ready to grow, then you have to take and you start that efficiency process all over again. Because when you have 5 employees and you've written plans for 5 employees and you've done this and you do a checkout process with every single one of them at the end of the day, and then all of a sudden you have now hired 4 more employees. So now you have to do 9 things, because remember, you're only one person and they're 8 or 9 people. So here I'm 1, but they're 8 of them. So everything I do, I have to replicate it by 8, right? So creating those streamlining processes to help you get to capacity are phenomenal. Then once you get there, you have to be flexible enough to adjust those processes that you made to help you as you grow the business. Because what is effective at 1,000 pools is not always effective at 300 pools. The Harvard Business Review states that companies that streamline operations can reduce labor costs by up to 20 to 30%. Efficient scheduling and task management allow for more jobs to be completed in less time, leading to higher revenue. I know that I would definitely love to decrease our labor by 20 to 30%. So just working on that will help with all of this. So next we're going to get into backyard efficiency and turning your equipment into an employee. The equipment in the backyard will be your hardest working employee that you have. 90% of what a homeowner cares about is the cleanliness of the pool. 90% of what a pool company should care about is the functionality of the equipment. A clean pool is just a bonus, right? Homeowners, for the most part, do not care if their pump is running. They do not care if their filter works. The only thing they care about is if their pool is clean and if they can get their children out of the house and put them in the pool so that they don't have to deal with it, right? Well, you're not there, unfortunately, to clean their pool every day. So you should work on getting your equipment to be efficient so that that pool stays clean 7 days a week and you're not having to go do the go backs, which that's the next section, but you're not having to do the go backs, or you're not having to hear, well, my kids had to swim in leaves, right? When it just takes a fine tuning of a little bit of equipment to get the pool to be efficient. Small adjustments save you mass time across this. One of the best ways to do it is running those variable speed pumps for 24 hours a day. I know that there's been a shift in the industry with the rules that have come and the laws that have come into place with switching from single speed pumps to variable speed pumps. And having to explain that to homeowners is never an easy thing to do. And I know coming from Arizona, electricity is pretty expensive. Washington, not so much, but in Arizona, electricity is pretty expensive. So having to have that conversation with homeowners is not always the easiest thing, right? But if you break it down for them and truly teach them of what their kilowatt hour is, and you can kind of go into all of that with them if you want to get that far and deep into it, or you feel like you need to, it's pretty easy to figure out. But setting them to run up on that 24-hour schedule is truly going to help you. You have to remember that if your pump is not running, none of the other equipment is doing anything. Your filter only filters as long as water running through it. So when you have somebody who spent $2,000 on a filter, you only run that pump for 4 hours a day, they have a $2,000 piece of equipment that's not doing anything. So you really want to run that pump that is the driver of all of the equipment to make sure that your pool and that everything stays clear. You have your filters, right? So the filter is one of the biggest ways. I'm big passionate about filter cleans. Setting your customers up on a routine filter maintenance drives revenue beyond all reasonable belief. You're already going to that house, you're already there, and it's something that you can add on to service, take care of it, and get it done real quick. The company that I currently work for, they used to not clean their filters on a routine basis. He changed his plan in 2025, and he increased his revenue just off of filter cleans by $80,000 a year. So that's a shameless plug for revenue, but in the equipment standpoint and making it more efficient, if your filter is clean, then your water is moving correctly through it. You're not having to ramp up the RPMs because your pump's not having to work harder, right? The pool stays cleaner. It kind of layers itself on top of it, right? And this is where that repetition becomes kind of boring, right? Cleaning filter is not always the funnest thing to do, but it is the one thing that will keep your pool cleanliness to do. And then you have your cleaning systems, right? Making sure you have a functioning cleaning system. I know not all areas of the nation do use cleaning systems. Here in Washington, they're not as common as they are in other places. So if there's a cleaning system on the pool, making sure it's functioning, right? Turn that equipment into your 7-day-a-week, 24-hour-a-day employee that does what it's supposed to do and keeps that pool clean. So that when your tech shows up, instead of spending 2 hours at the house, they're only spending about 10 to 15 minutes because the pool has cleaned itself. And then you have chlorination comes in, which is like the backup dancer for all the other equipment. It really is the one that just supports and adds the pizzazz to the water and make sure it's all good to go, right? So this is where your chlorination systems and the functionality of them is what really does drive and helps you prevent your go backs by keeping your water clean and sanitized. Then when you have go backs, nothing throws a wrench into your day like having to go to a house that you did not plan on going to. 90% of the time when you do end up going back to that house, it does happen to be all the way across town, which is just adding time to your day, which is adding money to your day as well. So the main thing you want to do with preventing go backs is preventing algae proactively. Proper and frequent brushing is the easiest way to prevent algae. It is also something that you are going to do every single week while you are at the house, regardless, right? So your tech is there, they're going to net and they're going to brush that pool, and brushing will help prevent that algae. So efficient training and efficient brushing, right? It's also free. The only thing it costs you is your net and your pole, which I do understand is a consumable, but over time, that net and pole is going to pay for itself by not having to go back multiple days in a row over and over again to work with algae. You also want to make sure that you're equipping your techs properly. This is something that you can drive every day and get your teams support with this, right? Their jobs are easier when they have the correct tools to do them. Ultimately, whether you have them supply their own tools or you as a company supply their own tools, we all know what tools it takes to do the job. And being transparent and upfront with our customers with that will help them to, or our technicians, sorry, will help them to feel more prepared to go out and do their job. They're not having to run back to the shop to get a screwdriver, or they forgot the O-ring for their customer. And sometimes that shop, like here in Washington, can be 3 hours away one way. And so you're not having to run back and get all of that stuff. It also helps because when you have a truck issue, because that's what we all talk about on a pretty regular basis, when you have a truck issue, you can just plug and play a new tech into a new truck. And they're not having to be like, well, I don't have my tool, I don't have this. If all the trucks are set up the same way and maintained the same way, all you have to do is say, hey, you're going to go in the blue truck today, we're going to call it a day, right? And then you apply those rules across the board for every employee. Exceptions cause chaos. So when you make an exception to the rule, then you have to remember what that exception is. And then you have to remember to apply it the way that you promised you were going to apply it. Because remember, there's only one of you, but there's 8 of them. So if you apply an exception to the rule, you're going to have to go back and do it. So whether it's making them load their trucks at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, just try to keep that as consistent as possible. Once you have all these steps done, so your equipment's efficient, it's killing it in the backyard, your chlorine's doing what it needs to do, you've brushed the pool, your techs are all properly equipped, they got it going on, then it leads you to being able to improve issue identification. So with that, you can look at employees and see which employees are struggling because the equipment's set up, they should be doing everything that they're doing. Why are they struggling with this pool? Or why is this employee taking so long on this route? Everything is set up the way it's supposed to do. So it really does help you at this point to be able to nitpick those situations. It also helps you be able to nitpick the houses as well. So if you know that every 3 weeks, Jennifer's house has algae in it, it leads you into wanting to do an investigation to figure out why her house has algae every 3 weeks. That's causing you to have to go back. So then you realize the landscapers come that morning. So you offer a basket check, right? Either you empty your basket or we're going to do it for you, and you're going to have to pay us to do it because I'm making an extra trip to your house, right? So there's all these different layers that you can do, right? So you have your equipment, you have your tools, and then you have your patterns that you're looking for. And when you're able to take the time and really sit down and look at those patterns, it will help you be able to cut the things out that aren't efficient. If this house is taking you 3 hours, are you charging appropriately for it? Or is it just taking you 3 hours? And that's not okay. So in route optimization and localization, we all spend hours a day trying to get this right. And every time you add a new customer to it, so you have to go in and make sure that that customer is going into the most efficient space. So whether you service 10 square miles or 100 square miles, these principles still apply. You want to keep consistent service days. So we are only in certain areas on certain days. We service the entire state of Washington, which can be quite a drive. So we set it up very beginning with our customers that we are in Chelan on Mondays. It's just the way it works, right? And so when there's an issue and something does happen, we can just say, we'll be there on Monday. It also helps to our customer schedule pool time. Once again, going back to that, trying to save those homeowners from calling you and asking those questions. This is one of those times. So if they know that you're coming on Monday and they have 6 kids that they have to entertain, they might try to get them out of the house or tell them to do something because you're going to be there. So keeping those consistent service days helps the customer. It also provides you a cheat sheet when you are adding new customers. So if you know that you are going to be in Chelan on Mondays and you get a house with that's in Chelan, you know where you need to add it to your route because you instantly know that it needs to go on Mondays. And you're not having to hunt and peck to know, well, this tech only has 5 pools on this day, or this tech only has 3 pools on this route. It really does just help you to be able to plug and play with those new homeowners as you get them. Unfortunately, though, with routes does come everyday monitoring to making sure that they are still efficient. You do not want, just because somebody lives all in the same area, you also don't want a tech to have to do 25 or 30 pools. So then that becomes where, how do we divide this out? This is where your growth comes in, right? Helps you plan for expansion. You can kind of all of that once you have those consistent service days set. It also reduces unnecessary drive time, which we just all know that driving's driving. It's part of the job. But being able to not have to drive 3 hours around town to accomplish 4 jobs is very inefficient, but being able to do it in one area at a time saves it. Also, you just get the bonus of not having extra gas and tires and maintenance on your truck, which we all know right now is crazy. And being able to save the money on that does help as well. Along with creating consistent service days, you have your planning your expansion effectively. So what days are close to the new area that you would like to go into, right? You know that your Monday is crazy busy, right? And you got no room to grow there. So let's look at a different area. Let's maybe look at Tuesdays. And Tuesdays, we're only 20 miles further, right? But we're kind of all in the same area and we can grow there. So if you have area A right here and area B right here, you have this little area in the middle. If you try to plan your expansion in between them, then you're growing together. So you're not driving in 2 separate directions every time you have to go somewhere. So when you do have to do a go back, which we're trying to prevent, but when you do have to do a go back, you're not driving clear across town every day. So Monday you might be in A, you grew into B, and then you have C. So if you have to go back to somebody in area A on Monday, you're already in area B, so you're much closer. So it does help you plan your expansion so that you're not adding a ton of extra drive time to what you're doing. Planning expansion is very hard. I'm not going to say that that's an easy thing to do. I know that I've sat through tons of classes and webinars on planning expansion, but working in those efficient ways to do it, with figuring out those areas, maybe look at going a mile further, right? I'm just going to go 1 mile further and I'm going to see what houses I get in this mile. Or you have somebody in another area that's calling you and they say, hey, will you come to my area? And you tell them, sure, you got to pay me more money, right? Time is money. And I know that we all have heard that and we've all heard it over and over and over again. But really the most efficient way for your business to make money is to make sure that your routes are nice and tight and you're not spending a ton of time driving over and over and over again. You want to make sure that you prioritize your profitable routes as well, which does fall into that charging for appropriately for distances. And if you have one pool that's way further away than everybody else, is that pool really worth it?
Yeah, look, this is something that's come up on previous webinars, and this is where I see a lot of single polars and folks that are just starting out get super stuck because when you're new and you're getting established, you want to take any business that comes into the door. And I've been to many IPSA meetings in San Antonio and Austin, and it's really great because they work together to give each other leads or swap pools amongst each other. And so if you are in a position where you've got pools that are maybe slightly outside of your area, get to know the people that are serving that area and do a lead swap. When someone comes to you and they're not in your area, you can give to them and vice versa. That's been a really, really effective way because like she said, that windshield time will kill you. And time is money. The more pulls you can do in a short amount of time, the better.
And if you don't look at it, I've heard this multiple times, and one instructor teaches it, and he says it. Don't look at them as competitors. Look at them as colleagues. And when you do that, you know that those customers are going to be taken care of because you trust the person that you're suggesting that they use. This is where cross training and team development comes in. So with cross training, because panic is never an effective backup plan. So we've all shown up to a house, right? And you look at it and you say, I have no idea what to do. You start panicking, you start freaking out, you call people, you want them to come and help you. They're clear across town doing other stuff. You don't have any idea what you're doing. So you just walk away, right? The next thing you have to do, you then have to go back to that house to figure it out. So it does prevent having to make multiple trips to the same house. Now, there is a benefit if you have a large enough company from having techs who stay in their own lane, right? When you have the ability to be able to do that, it's a great thing to be able to do. Prevents drive time and different things. But as a smaller company, sometimes you have to use one tech to do multiple things. And in that where you develop the cross training. Over time, the cross training will pay off and that tech will start to grow. That's where personal growth comes in. That's where those opportunities for growth comes in. And then when you are ready to hire somebody else, you already have a built-in trainer into there because you have had a tech that you've had to have cross training for so long. Like I mentioned, we have one area that is 3 hours away one way. So we set it up on Thursdays. Our tech drives the 3 hours there and hits little jobs along the way. He spends the night at a hotel in the town, and then he works his way back on Fridays. So he is cross-trained to do everything that's humanly possible. If he gets 3 hours away and needs a new pump or needs something to do with a filter, whatever it happens to be, he is able to fix it then and there on the job and get it done and taken over with. You want to also standardize your notes and your communication. So anyone can look at notes and see what needs to be done. We recently here, so we have them write notes when we are doing pool openings on if there needs to be a follow-up. Did you talk to the homeowner? Did you run into any issues? Right? And all the guys were just putting in their notes, however they felt like they needed to do it, right? And so sometimes you'd be like, I can't tell if this job is finished because it doesn't directly say not finished. It'll just say, something else, and you have to guess. So then you're having to call the tech. They're having to remember what house you're talking about. So if you standardize those notes, I actually have mine taped to my wall that we just did. It says the first one, is it finished or not finished? Yes or no, right? Easy. Did you speak to the customer? Yes or no? Was it the standard time? Yes. Great. No. Why did it take you longer? And then the third one is there a quote needed for anything? So is there anything that you noticed at the house that's broken? Because we haven't been there in 6 or 7 months, that needs to be fixed and a quote needs to be provided to them. When we standardized this, it helped me because I knew exactly, yes, they need to go back. No, they don't. So it made our scheduling much more efficient. It also helped with our billing because you don't want to send a bill for a job that's not yet completed. So if our biller was looking at notes and it wasn't clear cut, there was times where she was sending a bill that was potentially not completed. And then you're going to get a call from a homeowner and ask you why they want money. You're not done with the job. And it just saves all this headache. So really standardizing those notes so that the homeowner or so that the techs know that everything is in order, that you know that what the tech did or didn't do, if you need to reach out to that customer to communicate with them. It really does just create a streamlined process for that specific job. And then you do it again at a different house and again at a different house and again at a different house. And then that's when you create the repetition so that you know that this is how it's going to go. It's the repetition for the billing department, for the service manager, for the operations manager, for the owner. They can all just open it at a quick glance and see exactly what's going on. One of the easiest ways to develop your team is to use senior techs for training. They have been with the company. They have a buy-in into the company. They care about the overall well-being of the company. And usually a senior tech or a lead tech is the one that is going back to help fix issues that a new tech is maybe not prepared for. So when you have a senior tech that is working on helping with the issues, they have an invested interest in saving themselves time and properly in training that employee. It also helps to strengthen the onboarding with that new employee because it does give them a peer that they can go to and ask questions to instead of kind of riding around with somebody else every day and learning different ways or techniques when everything should just be streamlined and easy to do. The other big thing that it does is it also creates accountability for that tech for your senior tech. We all know that sometimes employees like to cut corners to get things done quicker, but a new tech is not able to efficiently cut a corner or hide the fact that they are. And it's something that's easily recognizable. And if they were taught it that way, then that's the way they learned it. And you kind of know who to go back to check that. So it gives you a little bit of a checks and balances on your employees when you kind of do a self-training for your employees.
So we have a couple questions in chat. Colleen is asking, where are the notes? Are you, and Robert has a question along the same lines. Are you using notes in the service notes on the route stops or the notes in work performed section of the work orders?
Yeah, so we try to communicate with our homeowners at every route stop, right? And so you have the email section, and because I'm just slightly newer to using Skimmer, so I don't know what it's called, but where the emails don't get sent to the homeowner.
Alert the office.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So we put that in there so when it comes back to the office, it's easy. And I mean, we have texts that just do yes, yes, no, yes, right? Like, okay, so I have a template, so I know what yes, yes, no, yes means. And it saves them from having to be like, I did not speak to the homeowner. This job is not finished, right? It's very simple, just kind of do yes, yes, no, yes. So we do that. And then in the communication to the customer, we give them kind of a brief synopsis, like, hey, we have to let the dirt settle. We'll be back to vacuum, or this is what we added to your pool. Don't swim for 12 hours, kind of yada, yada, yada.
So I'm going to show you something, Robert and Colleen, at the end of this presentation that I think is going to help with this as well. So stay tuned for that.
Perfect. So time management and effective communication. Um, Microsoft's 2025 Work Trend Index found that office workers are interrupted up to 275 times a day. That's roughly every 2 minutes. When sometimes you go home at the end of the day and feel like you didn't accomplish anything, sometimes there might be a reason why. The easiest way is you want to reducing those interruptions. So I took my phone, I have an iPhone. So I took my phone and I set up reduce interruptions on it. And it is set on a schedule and it automatically turns on every single day when I am at work. And I don't get those nonsense interruptions. So I don't get the Facebook notifications or the Instagram notifications, which if you're using your business to communicate that way, might not be effective to do that. But I don't need to look at Facebook in the middle of my day. I don't need the, Nike has a sell emails that I get all the time, right? So reducing those interruptions that you can do on your personal cell phone to avoid your picking up your phone is definitely something that I would suggest doing. I have it set up to where my phone doesn't ring at night if I can avoid it. So there's different things that you can do to really set up those parameters for reducing those interruptions. It's also setting up parameters with your employees as well. In the pool world, a lot of our employees spend 90% of the day by themselves. And the first thing they want to do at the end of the day is come in and chit chat and tell you all about their dog's graduation party and their kid's birthday and whatever else it happens to be. And so I learned a long time ago to ask the question, is this a business conversation or a fun conversation? Because if it's a fun conversation, you got 5 minutes. If it's a business conversation, you have my undivided attention until we feel like we have solved the problem. And it's just really differentiating that with those employees because you also don't want to sit there and be like, yep, sounds great, cool. Oh, your kid is adorable, right? We can all tell when we're talking to somebody fake, and that's not going to make that employee feel good, right? And having to train a new employee because they didn't feel good is not an effective way to run your business. So giving them those 5 minutes of time, but also setting up a realistic expectation with them that says, I love to hear about your family, but I got stuff to do, right? And it's okay to do that, right? They still feel heard, but they also learn to respect that time. You want to research, pick, and develop a time management strategy. So there's a lot. If you Google them, there's tons of time management strategies out there. You can pick one that works for you, pick a couple if you like, but try to do something that helps you to focus on what you are trying to do. I know throughout the day, we are all busy trying to put out those little fires that happen. And sometimes those little fires occupy an entire 8 hours of our day. And once again, you didn't accomplish anything. There's a ton out there. You have the Pomodoro technique, which is the one that I use, which is you work for a little bit, take a small break, work for a little bit, take a small break, work for a little bit, take a small break, work for a little bit, take a big break. Then you repeat the process over and over and over again. until you're done. And then there's another one that I will implement, and it's called the 2-minute rule. If something is going to take you less than 2 minutes to do it immediately. If it's going to take you more than 2 minutes to do, put it to the side, right? And then when you're done with your work break, then you can readdress those issues that you kind of put to the side while you were working on that specific topic or that specific project that you had devoted that time to. Because getting pulled away from a project, you never get right back into it. And then you're 5 problems down the road and you still have 1 slide made of your presentation or whatever it happens to be. The other way that you can do it is delegate. When I first heard the word delegate, when I started in leadership, I was like, oh yeah, I got this. I love to tell people what to do. But there really is a difference between delegation and effective delegation. Delegation is just getting work off of your plate. So it's walking into Nikki and say, you know what? I'm giving you this project. This is how I want it done. Go ahead, right? And then the first time Nikki doesn't do it 100% the way you want it to be done, you're gonna be like, no. Let me re-show you, right? And then 1 or 2 times after that, that's when the statement is, it's just easier if I do it myself. And the next thing you know, everything is just easier if you do it yourself. And you have 45 jobs that you have to accomplish in an 8-hour period while you're also getting interrupted up to 275 times a day. And that is not effective. You want to use effective delegation, which is assigning ownership with clarity and support. You want to build that ownership in and that confidence in that employee that this is their project and this is theirs. They are going to own it. You want to set goals up for them and say, hey, this is my plan with what we're doing. We want to track how much money we get from every filter clean that we do. We know that we clean them every 3 months. So in a year, they are cleaned 4 times. We know we charge $7 for every filter clean, whatever that number happens to be, right? And you know we want to do it. And I want to know at the end of a 12-month period for Sarah's pool, how much money our company made off of those filters, right? And you explain the clear goal to them and what you want them to do and what you were trying to achieve by doing the goal. And then you let them do it, right? You have achieved your goal by the project getting done and you not having to do it. You have explained to them what they're looking for, but you allow them the ownership to take that project and really make it their own. And when we own a project, we've all done it and we all are like, yes, I feel crazy important right now. Look at this. Look, I made this presentation or whatever it happens to be. It's a sense of pride that that is something that you did for the company. That's not just listening to somebody tell you, oh, I don't like it the way you did it. I want you to do it this way because that's not the vision that I had. And then eventually you're like, well, you don't like the way I do it, just do it yourself, right? And so it kind of goes both ways. So you really want to make sure that you do have that effective delegation and don't get frustrated. Please don't get frustrated with it because I've been there. I used to be just a delegator, right? And then it was easier to do it myself. And it took a hard look at myself to realize that I was not delegating effectively. I was the problem and why those projects were not succeeding because I was not capable, I was not able to do it at that time. So like I said, take a hard look. When you have to reevaluate something, reevaluate it, everything changes. One of the other things you can do is use canned emails and templates, right? So just like we did in the note section that comes back to the office, it's pretty even canned email and it's a template. It's so much easier to change a date on an email or to change a price on an email than it is to rewrite the email. So creating that canned email that says, hey, Jennifer's going to be at your house on Tuesday, the 25th to clean your pool. This is what's included in pool service. This is how much it's going to cost you. This is the plan that you selected. You are a salt system, right? You have all these emails typed up already that you just save, you copy and paste, and then you change the dates on it and you send it out. So instead of having to reinvent the wheel over and over again with an email, you are just sending out a canned one. The main thing that saves is a customer being able to come back to you and tell you, well, no one ever told me that. No one ever told me you were going to charge me for my filter clean. Well, in the email that I sent, that's the welcome to service email, it clearly states that we're going to charge you for your filter clean and you have to be prepared for that, right? So it does protect you. It protects the company and it also helps the homeowner just to be aware with that communication. You also want to set clear expectations for those homeowners. ASAP is something that I avoid saying at all cost, because to me, ASAP means I want it done on my timeline, because I have 5 kids that are screaming their heads off and I want them to be able to get into the pool. But ASAP to a pool company or the person you talk to on the phone might be like, well, I'm about to go on to lunch in 45 minutes, so I'll get back to that when I can. Or in the meantime, 80 other little fires have come up, and the next thing you know, it's the next day, and you still didn't get back to them because you didn't have a chance to. It creates a question of doubt on if you were ever going to get back to them, and then they're going to call you back and they're going to be grouchy that you weren't able to help them and that you weren't able to answer their questions in a timely fashion. And it just creates this trickle down effect of negativity. Once again, making an exception to the rule does cause chaos. And when you're setting those expectations and when you are communicating to the homeowners, whether it's a problem, whether you're preemptively talking about something or you're handling a problem, you really want to try to stay away from negativity. No one likes to be dismissed, right? So there is a study, and basically it talks about positive framing and solution focused language. So if you have a meeting that you're going to attend, instead of walking in and just walking in and being like, hey guys, sorry I'm late, you want to make sure that you're respecting people's time. And with that comes being able to talk to us. So instead of walking in and saying, hey guys, sorry I'm late, you want to walk in and say, thank you so much for your patience. It takes it away from the negativity of the situation and puts it back on the positive. That doesn't mean that you never apologize for a situation. It just means that you want to acknowledge, appreciate, and come up with a solution. So instead of saying, I'm so sorry that my tech left leaves in your pool, you could try to say something of like, thank you for bringing this to our attention. That's not how that tech was trained. I will get Scott out there to fix it, right? Or whatever it happens to be. And then that shows that you care about their problem. It shows that you're willing to fix their problem. And it shows that you're on it in a timely manner, where instead of just like, yeah, no, I'm sorry that happened, right? It feels like you're kind of sloughing off the responsibility of it, when that's the last thing that you want them to feel. And in the future, it will help them to call you again when they have the littler problems, right? Leaves in a pool is a pretty tiny problem compared to something big. But if you leave leaves in their pool for 3 weeks in a row, on the third week, they're going to call you and they're going to be really mad. And they're going to say, well, last time I called you, you kind of dismissed me and you just were like, yeah, whatever, it happens. But if you really do acknowledge it and then come up with a plan to fix it, it does breed that open communication with the homeowner because they do feel like they were heard. Then you have your setting realistic expectations. So I kind of smushed my last 2 slides together, but that's okay. The fastest way to disappoint a customer is to create an expectation that you cannot meet. That is kind of where I have this one of my setting realistic expectations. Oh, that's okay. But that is, like I said, when you tell a customer you're going to call it back, give them a time frame. On our voicemail, it says we will call you back within the next 24 business hours. It doesn't say we'll give you a call back. Doesn't say anything like that. We will give you a call in the next 24 business hours. You don't know for the homeowner if the tech is still out in the field, right? Don't be like, oh yeah, let me talk to him and I'll call you right back, right? You don't know if maybe the tech doesn't have service. Maybe they're talking to a homeowner. And when you tell somebody you're going to call them right back, what does right mean, right? I will talk to John and I will give you a call back before the end of the day, right? Or I'm going to talk, John's already gone home for the day. I'm not certain I can get a hold of him. I will get with him and give you a call by the end of day tomorrow. That gives you a chance to be able to solve that problem on your own timeline, which then takes that this is a fire out of that situation, right? Because every situation could be a fire, right? And you want to save it for, oh my God, somebody has a flat tire, right? That's way more of a fire than, do you know where John left my vacuum, right? And so if you're trying to deal with Anthony having a flat tire, the last thing honestly you care about is their vacuum in their pool, right? But you told them you would call them right back. And the next thing you know, 3 hours have gone by and now they're calling you again and now they're mad. And you have to take the time to have that conversation with them. So setting up that realistic expectation and respecting their time really does go a long way in avoiding those like repeat phone calls. Because just as time consuming as going back to a pool is over and over and over again, having to have the same conversation with the same homeowner over and over and over again is also not, it's also a time suck. You want to make sure that you're communicating proactively, especially where money is concerned. And that's where your service invoice, or hey, this month you're going to see an extra charge. We use our skimmer reports to communicate this to homeowners so they can see exactly what was added to pools, exactly how many chemicals we sold them, if we put any extra parts in their pool, and they can see it. And then there's never a phone call that can say, well, I didn't know. Yes, you did. Well, I don't look at the report. That's not my fault, right? So if you are the one that's communicating with them on that, then you have it on your side to protect you that you did notify them without taking time out of your day to call every customer that has something added to it, or every customer that has an issue. You use that tech communication to help with that as well. Newsletters and monthly emails are a great way for mass communication. Whether it is sending out an email that says, hey guys, it's pool closing time, or this is what you do when there's a storm, or whatever it is. It does educate your homeowners. It also gives them clear-cut information on what to expect when you are performing this service at their house. It also helps you with a way to sell stuff, because you can say, put your cover on your pool. And then you might get somebody who calls that says, I don't have a cover on my pool, but if it prevents my pool from getting dirty, I want one, right? And then you can use the opportunity in that moment to sell them something else just by providing the information to the people who it applies to. Other people might be interested in that information as well. And then once again, you just want to avoid your over promising. It's the quickest way to lose trust in a customer. It also sends homeowners on a wild goose chase. So if you promise that my tech will empty every basket every time and never make a mistake, the first time your tech leaves in that basket, which it's going to happen. People are human. Nobody's perfect. So it is going to happen, right? Then the next thing you know, well, they also left a leaf in my pump basket, and my pressure gauge is cracked, and this has happened, right? And so then they go down this rabbit hole of doom that you are basically the worst thing that's ever happened to their swimming pool. They've never been able to trust you, and they will never be able to trust you again. When in reality, it's just that you said the word never, or we always, right? This is what we provide. This is how we do it. And then you turn back to the once again, I'm so sorry, or, this is how it happened. We don't train them. This will never happen again. If it does, that tech will be, in trouble. However you want to phrase that, right? Take every complaint seriously, because as dumb as we think it is that there's a rock in the bottom of the pool, that homeowner pays you to get that rock out of the bottom of their pool. So every complaint is the biggest complaint you've ever heard.
Shameless plug, if you need a service agreement that has every exception under the sun, we just launched a new resource hub on Skimmer. If you go to getskimmer.com and you go to resources under guides and tools, there's all kinds of documents, pool drain waivers, employee handbooks, employee onboarding letters that let you set expectations with employees and new hires, a plethora of documents there, all free for you to use however you see fit. They're all Google links, so you can it'll trigger making a copy of it, and then you can edit it to your heart's delight.
And setting expectations isn't only with customers. You should also set expectations with your employees and your fellow coworkers, right? It's just expectations provide easy work. Now we get to talk about preventing burnout. I know this is a topic that we've all talked about, and we all hear about it on a pretty frequent basis. But burnout does not happen overnight. It happens when stress outweighs recovery for far too long. I can't sit here and say that I have the magic tool to prevent burnout, because I don't. I wish I did. I wish for everybody's sake and my own that I did. But I can just tell you some of the things that I've done to help burnout. And some of the things I did reach out to a friend on Sunday to ask her what are some ways that she prevents burnout. And her conversation was to laugh and be like, I don't, right? And then we proceeded to talk for an hour and 17 minutes. And we talked about everything. She asked questions about leadership because she is now in a new leadership role where she was not before. And we vented about customers, or we vented about situations. And it really just helped. And while my initial topic for the phone call was, hey, a quick 5-minute chat real quick about how you prevent burnout turned into a really cathartic experience to be able to listen to her and me and come together. We used it as a teaching moment, right? I'm new to the state of Washington. She's in Washington. I'm new to the state of Washington. So there's a lot up here. And while a swimming pool is just a swimming pool, it's really not at the same time. And there's a whole different world of pool care that comes in the state of Washington compared to Arizona. And it has been a huge learning curve for me. Um, and so being able to talk to her and being able to have those conversations and just hear that, like, hey, you're on the right path, you're doing a great job. And then for me to provide that to her as well, right? And for me to say, I've been in a leadership position for a while, I've been a director and a manager for a while. How can I help you to ease your pain and to ease your struggles that you're currently having is also a pretty cathartic experience for somebody else, right? The busy season pressure is real, right? And the fact that Nikki texted me this morning and told me how many people were signed up for this webinar on the 27th of May was pretty impressive to me. You guys all really took the time out of your day during that busy season to feed back into yourself. And I think that's something that you should commend yourself for, because I know that that's not easy, right? It's always easy to be like, I'm busy, I can't get to this right now, even though I should, right? So feeding back into yourself is really important in those moments. You want to prepare for your busy season in the off months, right? And coming from Arizona where there's not really off months, I'm super excited to see how it's going to look in Washington when there's snow on the ground and there is off months, right? But that is the time. July is not the time to change your service customer or your service software. It is not the time to implement a new policy. It is not the time to implement these things. Now, there are emergency situations where you have to say, look, something's not working, we have to give. You change that one thing, right? And then you reevaluate in your slower seasons. Recognizing the symptoms of burnout in yourself and in your employees, right? You can Google the symptoms of burnout and the list is long, right? It goes from all the way to irritability, to not being sleeping well, to feeling stressed out, to not eating properly, right? Like I feel like they just put every symptom you could have that's bad and put it into burnout. But it's recognizing those things within yourself to say, hey, I need to step back. I need to phone a friend. I need to go on a walk for 5 minutes. And while I know it's super hard to do, I'm going to go out and walk for 5 minutes and I'm going to leave my cell phone sitting on my desk, right? Don't take it with you. If you take that struggle with you, you're not really getting a break. You're just removing yourself from your desk and you're having a difficult phone call outside instead of having it inside. Really give yourself that chance to take that 5 minutes to breathe and refocus yourself and call it a day and get right back to it. Even after 5 minutes, you sit back down, you will feel refreshed. You will. You will take it and you will say, you know what? I got this. This is good. I can now write this email that I've been writing all day, or whatever it happens to be. But when you recognize that in yourself, you're able to take care of yourself, because if you're burnt out, then you're probably not being great to your employees. And they're also recognizing that in you. And then their stress level is going to rise, because as the captain of the ship, if you're stressed, kind of everybody else is stressed underneath you, right? And then you're stressed, and it just creates this vicious cycle, and it really doesn't help anybody. So having those quick conversations with those employees, about their kid's graduation or a birthday party, right, really does show that, hey, I might be grouchy sometimes, but I do care about you. And it also sparks that, like, man, I just haven't been sleeping well. Okay, right? And it's a simple statement, but it does make you think that, is there something I can do to help this employee? Let me take a look at their day. Wow, they might be burnt out, right? Or whatever it happens to be. Better systems do help reduce that stress, right? The more you do repetition, which, like I said, repetition may be boring, but it's efficient. The more you do something, the easier it does to be doing it, right? You're not reinventing the wheel every time you're doing it. You create a process once and you call it a day. And then you do that process over and over and over again, but you don't have to spend the hours and hours reinventing it every single time you have to do it. It helps you to manage your systems that you have, because you are more focused when you are doing those tasks. And when you are in those moments, you are able to take a breath and take a step back and manage kind of all of the processes you have and all of the different things that you do. because you're looking at it from a clearer set of eyes. Sustainable growth requires sustainable teams. Your employees can't go anywhere if their tank is empty. If they are working 12 hours a day because it's busy season and that's what we need, and then they go home and they turn around and they come back and do it right the next day, why would they want more responsibility if their level of responsibility that they currently have is causing them to feel the way that they feel? You want to be able to grow those employees. You want to be able to help them and mold them into growth if that's what they want. We all have employees that are perfectly happy doing exactly what they're doing. And I feel that that needs to be celebrated too, because it's not always. But you do have employees that also want to grow. And with growth comes more responsibility. And you want them to feel that their responsibility is not going to add more stress and more burnout and more pressure to themselves.
We are getting close to time here.
Very
So,
close.
yeah, no worries. So, wanted to just really quickly, obviously Skimmer has a ton of features and a lot of features people don't know exist. For example, someone was asking about making sure that filter cleans happen. There's multiple ways to make that happen. There's recurring checklist items, there's recurring work orders that you can set a schedule on. There's a number of different ways to do that. And we are built for creating these scalable systems, these SOPs, these processes, right? So I wanted to tell you about a few things. First is AI phone. If you haven't tried AI phone, check it out. We beat up this thing. Hal Denbar, who has owned a business and owned NPP, a national franchise, and now as a board member here, called and we tried to beat this thing up and trick it 5 ways till Sunday, and it is solid. If you have not used AI phone, it's a great way to have someone answer the phone so you're not missing leads. So you are making sure that you can even provide troubleshooting steps to people while you're not on call, even if you just want to use it after hours. It's been trained with pool knowledge. It takes like 10 minutes to set up. If you want to make it extra good, spend some time in that knowledge section. There is a AI phone guide that we created that has a bunch of example rules that you can implement to make sure that you are asking the right types of questions to potential leads, asking them like what kind of pool you have, or is your pool covered? And then you can ask other things like, are you smelling something that's burning? That's an emergency, right? You might want to have that transferred. So spend some time on the knowledge and transfer rules to really make AI phone awesome. But it is really easy to set up. There's a sample number that you can call that we can give to you, and we will follow up with that sample number in the follow up with the recording to this. The next things I wanted to just cover briefly: office alerts. So, this is something that we know some competitors have had and something that has been on our roadmap for quite some time. And we are really, really excited that this is coming in June. So, you'll be able to set alerts, custom alerts for all kinds of things: readings out of range, dosages out of range. If your tech is taking too long or spends too little time at a stop, if they are starting late, you can set alerts for failed or overdue payments or payment method changes. But basically, you'll be able to set these thresholds for something like a reading. I use the CYA here. Maybe you want to be alerted if a pool goes over 100 in CYA. And not only do you want to be alerted, but you also want it to send an email to different staff members. You can do that too. Once you set this alert up and it's triggered, up in the right-hand side of the portal, there'll be that little bell with a little light next to it, that little orange dot. And that's where all your alerts are going to be compiled. So if you have something that's urgent and you mark it as urgent, like a CYA or a low water level or something like that, they'll be able to show up and be exposed in office alerts. The next thing is issues. So we're talking about what's the easiest way to report a certain kind of issue. Now you'll be able to create a custom issue and set different actions based on that issue. So I did low water level here. I want this to be an urgent alert. I want an email to be triggered to the customer automatically. And you can see what that email might look like below. And I want to show it in the panel in your web app. What it looks like in the mobile app, that's the second screen. So you can create whatever types of issues you want. We have these examples here, but you can report literally anything you want to create. You can add it here. So instead of using the service notes, you can actually use one of these issues that are common issues that will require follow-up that can be triaged and tracked. And so you can follow up with these people and make sure that if a repair is needed, you can get to it ASAP. Instead of digging through all the service notes, they'll be categorized into issues. So just a couple ways to help with efficiency. Again, those will come out in June. We're already beta testing them with a few people, but hopefully this will just give you another layer of alerting and allow you to be more proactive so that you know there's an issue with a tech or a pool before your customer does. All right. Prioritize and pick a struggle, folks. You know, you're never going to be perfect, but you can be better. Sarah talked about a lot of things today. You know, we know it's busy season. Start thinking about those things that you're feeling pain about like now and tackle those when busy season is over, right? The more processes you can create, the more standard operating procedures you can create, the more you can cross-train your teams, the better off that you'll be. And so with that, we'll go to Q&A for those who want to stick around. Do you keep your own number with AI phone? Yes, you do keep your own number. What happens is you will forward your number to AI phone. And usually the forwarding rule will happen with your carriers. If you're on Verizon or AT&T or whoever, you can choose to forward it during certain times or choose to always forward it. And you can put a rule in there that says, if I'm dealing with someone who's confused, who is demanding to speak to a human, go ahead and transfer that to me anyway. So you can also use it to filter what gets sent to you during operating hours or when you're busy. The cool thing is, again, is if you're using it for leads. And I'll point to Larry Earl, our pro out of Arizona, as example. Within 10 minutes of setting it up, he got 2 new customers, one for an acid wash and one for service that he would have otherwise missed. But because someone answered the phone and was able to take some information, and he promised he would get back to them, and he did, he was able to get 2 people to sign up for service that he would have otherwise not. They might have called somebody else. So really powerful tool that puts like an enterprise grade answering service and receptionist and makes that available for 99 bucks a month. Very cool feature. Uh, and it's pretty seamless too. Everything will be logged inside a Skimmer. There's a transcript of everything that happens in there. And it does work with other voice over IP services. So if you're using like Google Phone or Grasshopper or Quo or any number one of these other services, you can also use it in conjunction with AI phone. No more paper door hangers. Yay, that's a great feature. Yes. Yeah, we're gonna have some cool features coming out, and this is just the surface. We've got so much cool stuff coming, y'all. So stay tuned for all that. Our heritage integration will be launching soon. For those of you who aren't using it, if there's a heritage store in your area, you can now import all your catalog pricing and get real-time catalog pricing directly into Skimmer. Beginning probably first week of July-ish, second week of July, you'll be able to actually do complete order fulfillment for heritage. So if you're in there building a quote, someone agrees to it, you can go ahead and order it right then and there without having to juggle back and forth between multiple screens. Also helps with quoting too. It'll make that a lot easier. Any other questions? Thank you again for joining us. We know it's your busy time, and we hope to see you at one of these in the future. If you have any ideas on what we should cover in a webinar, when we send this recording out, reply to that email. That comes to me, and we'll make sure that we try to cover all the things that you guys want to learn more about. Thank you, Sarah, for taking
You're
time out
welcome.
of your day
Thank
to
you.
join us. It was a blast.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, you got it. I'm going to stick around. We've got a couple more questions. Can AI phone support non-pool companies? Not this implementation. This one is built right into Skimmer. Oh, you're a fish tank customer. Oh, yeah. So you could absolutely use the custom knowledge to be able to answer the questions. What'll happen is during setup, it'll go and scan your website and pull all that information in. If you are already a Skimmer user, you can add custom knowledge to let the AI know that you are a fish tank service company and create language in the custom knowledge and transfer rules that's more applicable to a fish tank company. Can you loop me in on the beta for alerts? I've been waiting forever for this. Yes, Thomas, I got you. I'll let you know. All right. If that's it, we have some software possibilities for SOPs that are easy to share with techs that are in the field. Yes, if you go to the resources, the resource hub, which is getskimmer.com/resources, there's a Skimmer Pro Templates document in there that gives you all kinds of examples for not only customer communication, but for what should be in your work order as well. So check out that I think it's called the Skimmer Pro Templates. I got the window up. Hang on real quick. And again, that email or that website address is getskimmer.com/resources. And it's called the Skimmer Pro Templates and Toolkits. And baked in there are a bunch of sample templates so that you don't have to create the wheel. There's some really cool stuff in there and some really good ideas as well. Do you have some software possibilities for? Oh, she asked that over here. Gotcha. Lindy, thank you. That was a great question. All right. And with that, I think we're done. Y'all have a good rest of your week. Sarah, say bye.